Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jill, otherwise known as the Enlightened Target, and this channel is devoted to narcissistic abuse awareness and recovery, parental alienation, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and anything and everything associated with those three main topics. Today we're going to explore narcissistic supply. What is it exactly? Why do they need it? And what do different forms of narcissistic supply look like? Because believe it or not, there are different potencies of narcissistic supply. All supply is not created equal, and you might be very, very surprised to learn how disturbing some sources of supply actually are. Narcissistic supply, sometimes referred to as fuel, is basically what the narcissist lives on. They need it to survive, just as we need air to breathe or food to eat to survive. Narcissistic supply, in its simplest form, is attention, the attention of others, and it is a very, very addictive drug that they all are extremely addicted to. So why do they have this need for narcissistic supply? Let's explore this for a minute. For someone to have developed narcissistic personality disorder, they experienced a trauma in childhood. Usually one of the traumas they have experienced is an attachment trauma. And attachment is established in early development, usually in the first 2 years of life. And it is the attachment that the baby has with the primary caregiver, usually the mother. Babies develop either a secure attachment or an insecure attachment. Secure attachment is created when the mother or the primary caregiver is present, consistent, kind, reassuring, soothing. The baby's physical and emotional needs are met, and the baby feels safe and protected and attuned to with the caretaker. And with this secure attachment, a person will usually go on to trust others and will have securely attached, healthy relationships in the future. Narcissists usually will have developed an insecure attachment with their caregiver. And what that means is that they did not have their needs met in some manner. They were not given consistent love and care that's needed to establish a secure attachment. Now, not all people who have an insecure attachment will go on to develop narcissistic personality disorder. If you are a victim of narcissistic abuse, chances are you will not have a secure attachment style. I personally do not have a secure attachment style. And I'll go into all of the different attachment styles in another video because it is a really important topic and something that certainly victims of narcissistic abuse need to learn and understand. We are only going to touch on this topic in this video. So the research suggests that narcissistic personality disorder is developed because of both nature and nurture. It's believed that for most people who develop the personality disorder, they will have had a genetic predisposition to the disorder and that it is triggered by trauma during their childhood. Not having a secure attachment is one of the childhood traumas that contribute to someone developing narcissistic personality disorder. Because the narcissist as a child was not sufficiently and consistently nurtured and loved, he or she learned how to survive in a relationship using sort of a barter system rather than relying on normal human connection skills. Hence, narcissistic supply. It's what the narcissist must have in order to emotionally regulate themselves. It is what they have learned to depend on to fulfill themselves. It's the closest thing to experiencing love that they understand. And it comes in the form of attention, approval, admiration, adoration, making them feel special and superior. That's what narcissistic supply is. It is attention that makes them feel special. That's the best way I know how to describe it. And they need it continually to fulfill the emptiness that they will inevitably feel without it. And because they never developed a true self, a true identity, the false self that has developed in its place doesn't survive the way a person with a developed self and identity would. The narcissist cannot feel content, fulfilled, and worthy without narcissistic supply. Their weak ego literally depends on it to regulate their unstable self-worth and self-esteem. And narcissistic supply is given to the narcissist through the attention and adoration of other people. This is also the reason when they suffer a narcissistic injury, whether real or perceived, that they will go into a narcissistic rage after the injury. They do not have the ability to emotionally regulate themselves on their own. So when they feel insulted or degraded, their fragile self-esteem and self-worth feels threatened. Therefore, they rage. And after the rage, they feel equalized again. And that is how they regulate themselves. The narcissist's pattern of behavior is driven purely by their addiction to narcissistic supply or the attention of others. It fills literally their thoughts, actions, and deeds. And as with all addictions, there are good and bad sources of supply. And to the narcissist, any source is better than none. However, given a choice, their first choice would be to pursue, of course, the finest sources possible. The best source is going to depend on how they view the supply in the first place. If they can get the admiration and attention from a source that they find superior to themselves, then that's the best kind of supply. So if they admire someone for, whatever reason, their intellect, their knowledge, their beauty, their position, then these people would be really, really welcome sources of supply and trophies to have notched up on their belt. And those are the types of people they target for their primary source of narcissistic supply. I divide sources and grades of supply into two categories. I call it premium or regular, just like the gasoline. It's much easier for me to understand it that way. And while premium is the best, some is better than none. So if you have been targeted or fallen victim to a narcissist, you possess qualities that they feel are superior, that they feel that they truly envy. You possess what they desire to have. The grade of supply I also categorize into premium or regular. And the grade I defined as intensity, the level of attention. So their desire is always to extract high grade supply from you. However, regular grade supply is better than none, just as regular source of supply is better than none. So the source I define as the person and the grade I define as the intensity. And premium is always preferred, but regular will certainly do. So we know that the narcissists love positive narcissistic supply or attention. They love the adoration and the admiration and the superiority they feel from that. And if you are a premium source of narcissistic supply, then they will want that supply to be positive supply. If you are a regular source of supply, positive is, always preferred, but negative will do. Most times in a narcissistically abusive relationship, the narcissist will eventually bore of their primary source of supply. After they have exploited and milked that person and sucked everything off that person that they can get, the narcissist usually will lose interest and starts the devalue cycle that will eventually lead to the discard phase, and the narcissist has moved on to another premium target to manipulate, and exploit that victim. However, what happens if a primary premium source of narcissistic supply discards the narcissist before he or she is ready to discard them? That's a big no-no. That will cause a narcissistic injury that they rarely, if ever, have experienced. So what happens to these people? If in the narcissist's eyes, you are a premium source that has not been depleted, you're not free to leave. So usually they will try and hoover you and love bomb you and manipulate you back into the relationship. But what if that doesn't work? What if you have had it and no amount of love bombing or apologizing or hoovering is going to work this time? This is when things can and many times do turn into a dangerous phase for the victim. If they cannot deplete you of the positive narcissistic supply they believe they are entitled to, then guess what? They will begin to extract negative supply from you. Remember, narcissistic supply is attention that makes them feel special. If you are frightened of them, if you are intimidated by them, if they can hurt you with your children, they still have your attention and they still feel special. This is normally what will happen if you leave a marriage with a narcissist and you have children. You have committed the unforgivable sin, and the lengths that they will go to have no limit. One of my coaching clients is dealing with this, and she divorced her ex in 2006. They have a son who is 18 years old, and her ex still does hurtful and horrible things to their son in order to gain narcissistic supply. Her pain, her son's pain, gives him premium grade narcissistic supply. It makes him feel powerful and superior and special. He knows that he has absolutely no power over her to gain positive narcissistic supply. So because when he hurts the son, it hurts her deeply, he gains supply off of that. I don't think this is an aspect of narcissistic abuse that's talked about a lot, and it really should be, because if you're going to hear me say this a lot too. It's always, always, always safest for the narcissist to discard the victim and not for the victim to leave. You've got to remember, the narcissist does not possess empathy, compassion, remorse, or guilt. So if you anger them and they're not done with you as a premium source of supply, then they will usually go on to try and extort negative supply from you. And because they don't have empathy, because they don't care what it does to your life. They don't care what it does to your children's life. They don't feel those emotions. In fact, and they don't care if they share those children with you, because the most important thing is that they get narcissistic supply. And the fact of the matter is, it doesn't just not bother them. Most times they really enjoy it. So in closing, obtaining narcissistic supply or attention that makes them feel special isn't just a desire of theirs. It's an absolute need. They have to get narcissistic supply in order to support the false self that has been created and the delusion that they are superior. This is how they emotionally regulate themselves, and it feeds their ego. Obtaining positive narcissistic supply is always preferred. However, negative supply is certainly better than none. Narcissistic supply is like the air they need to breathe. It is the life support. It is what they need to survive. Okay, that's going to do it for today's video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell, because I'll be putting out at least 2 videos a week. And also, if you know someone who would benefit from seeing this video, please share it with them. And thanks for watching, everyone.